This video was brought to you by the lovely members of my Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Kat and I'm here to talk to you guys about something that I've actually already discussed 5 months ago, J.K. Rowling and her interesting thoughts about transgender people. So yesterday, J.K. Rowling retweeted an article from a website called DVEX. The article was called Opinion, Creating a More Equal Post-COVID-19 World for People Who Menstruate. She replied to this tweet with the quote, "People who menstruate, I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumben, wimpund, wumund." And of course, she was responding to the usage of people who menstruate instead of outright just saying women. She followed up that tweet with a few others. She says, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability for men and women to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. She continues, the idea that women like me who have been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate transgender people because they think that sex is real and has lived consequences is a nonsense. She also tweeted, I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe that it's hateful to say so. So let's start out this conversation by establishing a couple of things. First of all, this did not upset me. I'm not angry with J.K. Rowling. So anyone in the comment section of this video saying that I am is literally not listening. I honestly don't know why people are surprised she feels any other way. To me personally, while I understand that a lot of people love Harry Potter, and I understand that a lot of people have this sort of connection to J.K. Rowling, I also recognize that she's already made her positions on this clear. For me, people who are still acting surprised, have not been paying attention, or have listened to what she's previously said and held out hope that she didn't actually mean what she said. In my opinion, J.K. Rowling is old enough and, thoughtful and educated enough to feel a certain way about something and to say it. I believe that J.K. Rowling is completely within her right to express these things. I think that she has the right to go onto Twitter and say that she thinks that sex is real and that everyone who has a menstruation cycle is a woman. I think that that is her right. She can say that out loud and proudly, right? But I don't think she gets to say that and somehow not be transphobic, right? So in this video, I actually wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about transphobia and what it actually is, because I think that some people get really wrapped up in the semantics of that particular conversation. But I wanted to sort of outline some of the things that she said in this video, because while I'm not mad at J.K. Rowling, the truth is I've known so many people like J.K. Rowling, right? I've known so many people who on one hand say that they support and love transgender people, but on the other hand say that their identities, their lived experiences, how they experience gender is not valid, right? So let's start from this, right? The baseline of transphobia is an outright rejection of a transgender person's identity. The article that she shared deliberately uses the term people who menstruate to be inclusive of trans and non-binary people who do have menstruation cycles, right? And that was a deliberate choice. J.K. Rowling went out of her way to counteract somebody who was attempting to be inclusive to transgender people. And I think for that reason, there's a lot of other things to unpack, but for that reason on its own, I don't think she gets to claim that she is in support of transgender people. You don't get to sort of be a person who says, well, actually, you're just a woman, to a non-binary person or to a trans guy, and still consider yourself to be an ally to the transgender community. You just can't, right? So this is really common. We have people like J.K. Rowling who are feminists who have created this sort of space for women to discuss their stuff, and they have a hard time wanting to shift that around because they've fought so hard for that spot, right? So J.K. Rowling can, I'm sure, of course, know that there are transgender men and non-binary folk, etc., who menstruate, who can express and have experienced the same sort of things that she has, even though they don't identify as women. I'm sure she kind of, to some degree, understands that, right? But if for her to concede that point would be her losing the sort of protection that she has sort of created for other women, obviously in this context being cis women. I know that in these videos, a lot of people don't like for me to use the term cis women. Now, because we're talking about trans people and we're acknowledging the fact that cis and trans folk have different experiences, we'll get to that later, I'm gonna use the term cis. Trans is a word and cis is the opposite. That's just what it is. For me, the phobia part of the transphobia is revealed in the fact that J.K. Rowling reads a phrase like people who menstruate and believes that it is some sort of great movement against women. For her to consider that to be this great movement against women, I have a hard time not seeing that as a fear. It's something that she has totally fabricated in her mind to justify her position. For me, one of the frustrating parts of this conversation is this assumption of how transgender people experience their biology and feel about their biology. Most of the time, when you're transgender because you were designated one sex at birth and you said no, or you said that may be my sex, but my gender is this, right? Most transgender people are very, very aware of how they experience, you know, their gender and how that disconnects with their biology, right? That is really what being trans is for most of us, right? And the thing is, most people are not saying that most women aren't oppressed by their sex. That's not an argument that anyone has made. The problem, of course, is that there are plenty of people who were designated female at birth, the way that J.K. Rowling was, who do not identify as women. And that's why terms like people who menstruate exist, because those are terms that are being used to deliberately include people like that. I know that this is gonna be really sort of upsetting for some people, but I think some people just need to accept that this is how J.K. Rowling feels. She feels this way. She's made how she felt very, very, very clear. I don't think she's ever tripped over her words. She might not have been as blatant as this, but this is how she feels, and I think she's entitled to it. I think that she is allowed to feel how she feels. I just also don't think she can feel that way and then consider herself to be a meaningful ally to the transgender community, right? And I think that that's something that some people really need to think about when they are bucking against the idea that they are transphobe, when they are trying to make the argument that they are on our side and that they would fight for us, right? Part of fighting for us is working to deprogram a lot of that language that excludes us, right? I don't really call a lot of things transphobia, but I think it's silly to sort of act like something like this isn't transphobia. When you're trying to say that the only people who menstruate are women, you are alienating trans folk. You just are. You are completely alienating a whole group of the people that you say you advocate for. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you get to alienate certain aspects of the trans community and then claim to be a trans ally. It does not work that way. She feels how she feels. She's made her feelings known. It's time to move on. It's time to read another book. This might be the Hufflepuff in me speaking, but there are so many great books out there. You don't have to read this one. You don't have to cling on to this one. J.K. Rowling feels how she feels. We know her position on transgender folks. It's time to move on and spend our energy elsewhere. This really is not the kind of person that I think you should be expending any energy on. I don't think that that's something that you should even try to do. It's just not worth it. I know you're heartbroken, but there are other books. I would love to know how you guys feel about this, so please feel free to share your opinion and perspective in the comment box below. Of course, let's keep it cordial. We like to be a productive community over here and actually talk about things, so if you're into that, please feel free to join us in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.